Hey, so today I'm joined by Lucy, also known as Vanlife with Lucy, who is a solo female traveler, content creator, and has turned her passion for adventure into a full-time lifestyle. She documents her journey across the UK, Europe, North America in her self-converted van, sharing honest stories about van life, solo travel, and mental health. And alongside her social media platform, she's created digital ebooks that help others plan their own adventures with confidence. So, what an introduction. Thank you so much again for joining me.
Oh, thank you for the introduction.
Yeah,
But yeah,
honestly.
oh no, it's a pleasure to be here and to just chat. So,
Thank you. I came across you watching your liberation video and I was just super inspired. And again, like the accent, I was like, this girl's definitely from like the West Midlands. So I was like, I need to connect with Lucy.
free, I was just going to say because I do kind of return to the West Midlands every now and again, but I think it kind of comes out every now and again in my vowels. So you're like, there's a bit of
Yeah,
Brummy in there, isn't
the
there?
vowels. Yeah. No, it's so funny because sometimes I feel like I don't have a strong kind of Brummie accent. And then whenever I like when I listen back to the Liberation video that we recorded, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, no, it's very strong. It's very there. And then like all the comments are like, oh, a Brummie. I'm like, oh yeah. But like you said earlier, Peaky Blinders has kind of made the Brummie accent cool, so I'm
Yeah, yeah.
it. Yeah. So yeah, diving in, I'd just love to like go right back to the start and like what made you kind of want to go down the van life? Like what was that moment where you were like, right, I need to escape the so-called rat race and just be free, live in my van. Like I'd love if you can like tell me a little bit about like when that happened and why that happened.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about it. And if anyone's got any questions or wants to put anything in the comments or anything, like feel free or reach out if we don't cover something today. Because sometimes when you chat and you forget details and things,
Yeah.
don't you? But for me, I'd always I'd gone to school. I did a very like what's the word? I was really bog standard with my level of like, this is what life is. I went to school, I went to university because I thought it would help me get a better job and a profession and all that sort of stuff, and bought into that meritocracy. And then kind of came out of that and was like, oh, I'm actually really poor and I've got student debt now. What do I do? So I was kind of like all in this finances, went straight into renting, trying to save for a house, which was so expensive. Then COVID hit. And I'd got this profession as a teacher. I worked as a lecturer and a primary teacher for about 10 years. And yeah, and it was a struggle, like cost of living, living on my own, renting a house, and having by that point I had bought a small van and converted it. But I bought the van for 500 quid and then
Wow.
used reconditioned pallet boards
Love
to
it.
like and sanded all this pallet wood. It was so heavy. It was so heavy in the back because it was all pallet wood. But I didn't it didn't cost me much for the conversion, and I had an inverter from a boat in there that was reconditioned. So I've been really cost efficient with how to kit it out as such, and just learnt loads of stuff off YouTube on how to put it all together. And during COVID, we had all the green zones. If can anyone remember that? It's like PTSD
Gosh.
when
Yeah.
when you're like, you can go on holiday, but you can only go to these green bits, not the red bits or the amber bits. You got to run through.
Yeah.
So I decided to run to Norway in my old LDV van, big up the Midlands, London,
Wow.
London Mainland vans. So for those that don't know, they're an old they're not made anymore. But they're quite similar to like the Renault, what's the faces, aren't they? Or like a little traffic. So
Yes.
they're not, they're like, they're small to medium size, like vans. But it wasn't even enough for me to stand up in, you know. But
Wow.
it did the trick. So I drove to Norway and spent like the 6 weeks holidays out there. And it just gave me the thirst for it then of like, why don't I just spend all my summer holidays doing this? Actually, why don't I just spend terms doing this and I'll do supply? So I started doing it in a much slower journey. Some people just quit everything and just go. I was a bit slower as a kind of supply teaching, and then used to do work for 3 months, have 3 months off,
Mm.
and kind of went that way. And I just decided to give up my house then, because when I was like, right, okay, COVID's finished, the world is open again. Why don't we like buy a bigger van and live in it instead of doing this seasonal sort of work that we're doing at the moment and still having to pay for a place? I'll just fully commit to living in the van full time. And I've been doing that for almost 3 years now, and I just couldn't dream of any other way to live now.
Wow.
And I
That's
can't believe it took me so long as a transition to sort of eve into it. I think because I am a solo person, I don't have a husband, partner, parents that are supporting, supporting that sense of I can turn up and just sleep on the drive because they both live abroad.
hmm
I lived in Spain, mum lives in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
So for me, I really was like on my own. So it was like, oh, do you really want to make this commitment of like, no, everything you own will be in that vehicle?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just downsized them from a three-bed house into an empty van and a workshop that I was converting it all in, and then lived out of a workshop pretty much for 6 months whilst I was doing the van conversion.
That is so inspiring. So when you like downsized, like surely you'd have had like an excess amount of stuff that you'd have had to have like sold or chucked away.
Yeah, I
What?
did textiles as a bit of a side passion and photography whilst I was going through school. So
Yeah.
I used to love making clothes, making fabrics. So I
Yeah.
had bin bags of like clothes and everything that still could mean I've always been quite petite, so it was all I had like stuff I haven't worn for 10 years. So it was a very culling process to sort of go through life and be like, look, you haven't worn this for years, just throw it away or give it away. I didn't throw. I donated a lot. I remember going to with my tea set. I had a tea set
Oh,
that had been gifted to me from like a family relative when I first moved into a house. I never used the thing. Like when
yeah.
people come over, you don't get out your little tea set that belonged to Granny Audrey. So I took it over to the hospice, and they led a centre for sheltered women on a Wednesday that were waiting for accommodation housing, like a crisis group, and they were like, they'd love this. This would be great. We can host it like a proper tea and cake
Yeah.
party every Wednesday then. So it's nice to think now that my set's being used every Wednesday, getting some use because I never did. So
Oh,
yeah, so it's good. It's culling to sort of shed all this stuff and actually go down to the basics. Like I have a guitar, one shelf worth of clothes now, and that's it. That's it.
wow.
And stuff for basic living, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? How like I think through life, like we accumulate all these things that actually like we don't need. And it's amazing like how little you really do need in life in terms of like these material possessions. Because I do think life, like probably how you experience it, all about experiences. It's not about, accumulating materialism. It's just about experiencing as much as you can while you can. We're put on this planet once, like just live life as full as you can. So yeah, I just find
Yeah.
your story like super, super inspiring. So
Well,
like how
this year was crazy because I went from like all that stuff to this year. I've spent 3 months in the US and Canada living out of a carry-on, hold-on Ryanair bag. So the one that fits underneath
wow,
your seat in front of you for 3 months.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's a three-bed house to like carry on luggage
Okay.
for months at a time. So the woman I am now is definitely different to the woman I was 5 years ago, but that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
a
Like
good
that
thing.
growth and progression to less materialistic, more minimal, savoring experiences, like you said, that really resonates with me because I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that.
No, 100%. And I think like maybe COVID was that kind of turning point for a lot of people, really, where it was just like, when you get take your freedoms taken away, it really essentially makes you go inward, doesn't it? And think like, what do I really want out of life? And like, what is life
Mm.
about when you're just locked away in your home all the time? And like you said, you can only go to these little areas. And because I know so many people who like want to go off grid, who I'm kind of help people with, COVID was like a massive turning point in their life. And just the cost of living as well. Like it's just crazy, isn't it? Like, I mean, in the UK, not just the UK, but all over the world, just how the cost of living is just skyrocketing. So like what
Well,
was
I think it affected. Oh, sorry, no, I was just
no,
about to
no,
say
carry on.
I agree with you completely. For me personally, it was cost of living versus COVID and freedom. But I
Mhm.
also had a really bad injury around that time. I ruptured my ACL and separated it. Um, which meant that I had to have like a 15 grand surgery because the NHS said it would be up to 3 years to put it back together. But because of the rheumatoid arthritis I have in the joint, and I'm hypermobile, so I have like weaker joints anyway, it would have caused too much sustained pressure to keep walking on it basically. So I was looking at 6 to 8 months of intensive physio and then another 2 years waiting. So when I got rid of the house and all my stuff, I put a lot of that money towards the surgeries because I was like, this is what is important to me. If I don't have my health, then I don't have my physical freedom. I can't work because I couldn't
Absolutely.
bend down at tables to teach anymore. So then I started looking at alternative ways to make a living, whether it was virtual and remote work and going into social media marketing, which is what I ended up doing. Um, so I sort of side quested then to support that as a decision because my mental health was just the state. It was a state. I was really struggling living on my own, being injured, not being able to go out and hike and adventure and do all these things. And I was like, I think the van was that escapist thing to ply my life into at that
Yeah.
point that kept me sane. And I know it's every job takes, you think it's going to take half an hour and it takes 3 hours, and it can be testing mentally in different ways. But for me, it was a sense of escapism that just wasn't the physical pain I was feeling or the emotional, social, and financial strain that I
Yeah.
was going through at the time. It was something just different to focus on.
And then your mental health, like being a solo van lifer, like how would you feel like you cope with that? Like, do you feel like there are times where you struggle like with loneliness, or how do you kind of deal with that side of it?
I would definitely say I get lonely. Not everybody gets lonely. I enjoy my own company. Like I choose my own company on purpose. But I do get lonely, especially when I'm away from like when I was in Canada and stuff, that was okay because I was only there for 2, 3 weeks. But when by the time I got down to San Francisco, I hired a car and then road tripped through Yosemite and some of the national parks and drove to Vegas. I got into a camper van in Vegas and then went cruising around Utah and Colorado for like 3 weeks with a company with a brand I was working with. And by that point, I haven't like been hugged by another human being for about 7 weeks. So
Oh,
that it's the physical and contact as well as the oh heck, because the Americans are very friendly, so there's lots of like small talk
very
and stuff. But
friendly.
yeah, when it comes to an actual connection with a friend or a family member or even a lover, it's like you until you have that again, you're like, goodness, I really needed that. So
Yeah.
I'm now at a point where I'm much better with longer periods. But when I first started van life, I decided to go to Greece for 3 months in the off season over the winter. And the English speaking in like Albania, Croatia, and that sort of side of the old Balkans and down into Greece wasn't amazing in some of the more remote mountainous places I was in. So
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of speaking, and I had to rely on sort of social networks as such. So I was
Yeah.
calling friends a lot, I was doing FaceTimes. Um, I was quite lucky that I was still working at that point, so I was getting a bit of interaction through like daily work as well on Monday to Friday, but it was lonely. And I
Yeah.
think knowing what I know now, that's why I haven't gone in the winter again to such a like a bit more of a remote place like Turkey or Georgia on my own during the winter, because I think I would, unless I meet up with other van lifers that I know are out there or meet other people, um, new friends, I think I would be really isolated, and I don't want to put myself through that again.
Yeah.
Because it takes the joy out of it a little bit because you're quite somber then and you're not enjoying. It's nice to share experiences too. So I do meet up with other van lifers, and I've made an effort to go to van life festivals now and meet people who then obviously live in their vans and are traveling around too most of the time. So you meet up with people in different countries and different places, and you develop a wider social network cross continentally, which is lovely.
That's really cool because I was just about to ask you about like the van life community because I know that that's becoming a massive thing now, like lots of van life festivals. So is there kind of like a network where you kind of like how would you go about like meeting people like at these festivals and then you like travel to different places? Is there a specific like website, network? Like how would you kind of go about that?
It totally depends on what you're comfortable with as a platform. So if you're quite tech
Yeah.
savvy and you don't mind having WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups and notifications and stuff, I
Yeah.
would definitely say Women's Van Life is a UK page. That's really good. There's a
Mhm.
lot of like new van lifers as well as experienced ones on there, so it's quite a mixed bag. So if
Yeah.
you ask out a question on a forum, you get quite a lot of answers. Um, I I would personally say that I've been to maybe 3 or 4 of the Van Life UK based festivals, and then I've hopped onto WhatsApp groups that are formed when I've been in those social networks. So like people have got groups running for this, that, and the other, or for the festival, and they're really nice places because you keep in touch with the same people you were hanging out with at the festival. So I've got like a solid group of 8 mates now where we've been to every Van Life Eats festival for the past 4 years. So
Yeah.
that's really nice. So we always meet up at the festival and then we see each other throughout the year now as well.
Yeah.
like I didn't spend Christmas alone in Portugal last year because three of the people that I'd met at Van Life Eats were in Portugal, so we all met up, and it was
Wow,
lovely.
that's
We went
really
around Lisbon together.
wow.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, it was cool. So it totally depends. If you're more techie, then I would definitely say hop onto those sort of online social platforms. There's loads of Instagram groups as well. My friend Jo runs a Insta page which is all about van life women. So that's really good, and she does circle groups and meets and lots of different events and stuff as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm even in a virtual book group for women in vans.
Wow. Love
Which
it.
is run by a friend of mine who lives over in Ireland now. But
Mhm.
so yeah, like because there isn't that element of social, you're here on your own a lot. Like
Uh-huh.
that is your phone is really helpful within that sometimes. But if you're not so good on the tech, I would definitely say attend the festivals or go to the group meets
Mhm.
or join up with some forums and find out what events are local to you, even if it's like the Bath and Somerset show if you're based sort of in the south end of the country, or if you're in the north, there's lots of stuff going on up there as well. And I know that this weekend there was a camper van festival up in Aberdeen. They're all over the UK, and key people to follow through that might be van life pages or van
Yeah.
groups like camper van hire groups. So Highlands to Hammock is a really good one. They're always going to different events and trade shows for van lifers. So I'm sure they'd give you, or if you followed their page, you'd see the different places where they are, or you could give them a message and they'll help out. Cam and Gemma are really nice people.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you for that advice. That's really interesting. Because yeah, there's definitely some I have like van lifers who are interested in because van life is like off grid, isn't it? So like obviously I live off grid in a house, but then I think like van life is like the ultimate off grid and the ultimate freedom. So there are people who a lot of like the people who come from our platform off grid only, they have vans and they like travel all around Europe, but they kind of want like a little home base in Spain, like a little finca where they can
Mm.
park up the van. So yeah, it's really interesting that you've kind of given that insight on the different communities you can join. What festivals would you say are like the ones that you love and you'd really recommend for like this van life community?
My absolute favourite is Van Life Eats because I think it's more of an intimate festival. Some festivals like the Overlanders show at Stratford-upon-Avon and a couple of those, they're quite big festivals. They can have a couple of thousand people there. But Van
Wow.
Life Eats is only a few hundred, so it feels a bit more closer.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it has a very loyal following of people that go every year as well. So it means that like it's a real family social vibe when you're there. If you have children and dogs, they're welcome as well. So again, it just feels more like a big family picnic festival type of thing rather than like a corporate event. As such, like obviously there is sponsorships involved, but like it's not in your face and everything's an ad.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I really enjoy the Warner shows and weekends as well. They're really good. So if you've got a motorhome and you do off-grid motorhoming, or you've got a bigger rig, like they're really good because you can also camp at those festivals and then you can go watch trades. You can watch people, like sell whatever trades and talks. And I did one recently from my ebooks there. Mark from Van Life Eats does cookery classes and stuff that you can join in on, which are all free. So it's really good. They're quite varied the weekends,
Yeah.
and then Van Love Festival is a really nice one as well, I think.
Amazing.
Um, yeah, so there's a few, but if you just typed in Van Life Festival online, it will come up with loads of different ones. So just find the dates and places that work for you. But it's a great weekend out, good opportunity to meet new people because everybody there is like usually doesn't know anybody. And I go to these things completely on my own. So I'll just be like, leave the door open, put the camper chair outside, and people do, they come up to you. You leave your door open, people are like, oh, can I have a look in the van? So it just
Yeah.
starts the conversation off.
Oh, that's awesome. It's really bringing people together, isn't it? So what was your like
Yeah.
go back to like the first night in your van? Like what was that like? How did that feel? Was there like a factor of fear? Was there like freedom? Like can you remember that first night being in your van alone and how that felt?
Oh, it sounds really mad, but like I remember the first time I ever went away in a van. So I'm like 13, 14. I can remember the first night in this van. I can remember when this van was finished because the first night I ever slept in here, it had nothing in here apart from a mattress on the floor.
Wow.
Like I lived in it pretty much unfinished and then did it bit by bit. It was cold. So yeah, but I remember the first time that I sort of was like, I'm on a road trip. I went to Wales in it first to sort of break it in before I went to Greece.
Yeah.
And I woke up at one of my favourite places near Limpadon. They've just turned it into an official overnight spot now, so you can pay to park there. But back in the day, you could just turn up and park outside. But it's beautiful. And then you get up, you can have your wild swim in the morning. You get all the inversion on Mount Snowdon from the cold mist. So it's pucker. It's a really nice spot. And I just remembered like all of this 6 months worth of toil and hard work and tears and this sacrifice of what am I doing, Lucy? You had a
Wow.
comfortable, steady teaching job
Yeah.
and you've just jacked everything in to go and pursue and romanticize your life of this nomad. Like, what are you doing? And then you stand there and you're like, this is it. I've made it. And then you have to go empty your toilet and come crashing back down to earth again. But for that 10 seconds, it is like, this is what we've done this for. I'm not in a meeting on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. I am here wild swimming and having a lovely time. I'm going to go back to my van and have a snow morning and breakfast and yeah, and it's just lovely. And I think once you've had a taste of that and you're like, actually, this can be a full-time commitment
Mhm.
and a full-time lifestyle, just going slower, taking so much more gratitude for those kind of peaceful moments
Mhm.
because you've got time to.
Mhm.
I definitely feel now that I've had that for the last couple of years that it would be hard for me to transition back into kind of the busy paced
The normal.
non-nomadic lifestyle that I used
Yeah.
to, yeah, the conventional
The norm.
that I had before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was like PTA and I did brownies as a volunteer leader and outdoor school for kids, like for socially economic deprived families and stuff. So it was like I had loads going on. I had loads. And when I think back now, I'm like, I'm gonna walk to the shop and buy a fresh loaf of bread.
Oh, I love it. Just yeah, just like the simple things, isn't it?
It is, it
Yeah.
is. I've just done 2 weeks of a yoga retreat for a brand I'm working with
Wow,
because I
that's
work as a
amazing.
marketing. Yeah, well, I'm a social media person now and a marketeer and a photographer. So that's how I've developed my income now and kind of
Yeah.
switched over my careers. But yeah, they flew me out to Slovenia and Sardinia and I had 2 weeks on a yoga retreat. And I was saying to someone about being a nomad, and this girl was like, I've just got a camper van. Like, I'm going to follow, I need to do all the conversion. So, a lot of the chat with us was like how she really wanted to transition into it and kind of come away. She's been a nurse for 30 years and now she wanted to spend more time in the van traveling around. And I was like, yes.
Amazing. Yeah, you're converting people.
Yeah, well, it's just like, cool, yeah, just go for it. Because
Yeah, yeah.
it's just making that step.
You've just got to jump, haven't you, and just trust that the net will appear. You've just got to go for it. Because that was
Yeah. Well,
interesting.
in my case, a lot of fails as well. And then you're like, oh, I
Oh,
learned
yeah.
from the thing I did wrong there.
That's it. It's all a learning curve, isn't it? Like t certainly, like with us living off grids, like there's so many things that we've like learned along the way. I mean, it like you said, it makes you grow as a person, though. Like I think about the person I was when I first moved out here to like who I am now. It's
Mm.
like night and day. But all those setbacks, all the tears, the blood, the sweat, like all of it has been. Everything happens for a reason, and it's just constant learning curve. But I love that though. I love the whole journey, and it's almost not the destination, is it? It's the journey that you've got to enjoy as well. But what I
Yeah,
really love
absolutely.
about, sorry, I think there's a bit of a delay, but
Yeah, it's but no, I'm sorry if I'm jumping over you because of the lag.
no, no, don't worry at all. Because one thing that my listeners would be really interested in is like how you are managing to sustain this lifestyle, like financially. So how did you kind of set something up before you started in the van, or did you just go for it and then it kind of, if you could just explain like how you do earn a living and the process of that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, sure. So I had an Instagram before I quit being a teacher. The I decided to make that Instagram a public profile because I used to do weddings and photography. So I had like a DSLR and I had some photography based equipment and stuff and would do mostly kind of portraits and people photography because it's always been a passion and an interest.
Mhm.
I never really thought about turning the camera onto me and for
Mm.
me to become a face of a brand,
Mhm.
which is Van Life with Lucy.
Yeah.
I didn't that didn't really come. It was an amalgamation of different events, really. Like the page started to develop traction as I was blogging the van build.
Hmm.
I had more time to invest in it because I wasn't working as a teacher anymore.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, within like the first 6 months, I'd gone into up to like I think 12 to 15,000 followers.
Wow.
And I just kept to the religious rules of social media marketing, which is know your audience, develop your brand voice,
Yeah.
and be really careful about what you're doing with your advertising points. So, for example, I was getting offered my first sort of brand deals and really developing a style in how I was doing that as well. So I was careful about which brands I wanted to collaborate with and
Wow.
build and nurture those relationships and ongoing sponsorships. So
Uh-huh.
fast forward kind of 3 years, I took my marketing experience that I had working for myself as a business and then went to go work in a corporate marketing role because I was like, this is going to teach me even more about marketing.
Yeah.
So I got to learn about SEO, email marketing, developing websites. I met with different brands, developed new brands that were coming up from grassroots, and starting new businesses. So after I'd done that for about 18 months, I finished that position in May of this year to go and travel abroad to do to America and Canada. And that was working with big brands like Camper Days and Cruise Canada, basically like reviewing their camper vans and having like a gifted trip. And then all
Wow.
of the additional materials is what I charge for. So I'm being paid on top of that as a gifted collaboration. So
Wow.
that's how it makes it more sustainable for me because I have sponsorships of like companies I work with that give me like a monthly income that I do regular work for. Um, and then I also have my additional advertisers and people that come on board. And then I also do social media marketing strategy. So if you're a little business and you need to know more about Instagram, Facebook, and how to advertise yourself and services, then I'll come on board as a consultant. I might make some of those materials for you, or we'll set up a strategy plan where the first 6 months I'll make all your posts if you send me the content. So a bit of like an AI personal social media assistant. So I've
Nice.
started doing that as well now. And it's really that's I miss that with teaching because there's a bit of personal there and you're really giving and you can
Yeah.
see how much difference you're making with students. And I think that I'm getting a bit of that now doing the consultancy work because you can see people's businesses grow, like people getting more confident in using social platforms and advertising. So
Yeah.
it's that it's quite I'm enjoying that. It feels like it's back to that sort of, oh, I'm doing something good.
Yeah. You're
Um,
making a big difference.
yeah, rather than just like this is an advert for this brand, it's actually like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm helping somebody here. So yeah, that's important to me. So I've started doing that, and then I've also started writing ebooks and travel guides on the side as well because it's you get travel fatigue when you've got so many decisions to make living on your own. I've got to tidy the van, cook, clean, empty, find airs and services to like make sure I've got all my stuff. So sometimes where to go, road trip to do, what do I do here, can be a bit like, "Oh, just can't be bothered to do anything."
Yeah.
So because I put so much effort and research into some of the projects and road trips that I do, especially for brands now as well,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want to share that. Like, if that would be useful to anyone, here's the national parks I went to. Here's what I did when I got there. This is what companies I used, how much it cost me. These are the campsites I used, and why I would or wouldn't use them again. So yeah, I like to just share that knowledge because it's a community base for me too. I'm
Yeah.
like here on my own. It's nice to talk and share with people.
Yeah, because you built up a really big community, like from your brand, Van Life with Lucy. It's become like a brand, hasn't it? Where you're just offering so much, but bringing this community together. And like with the ebooks and stuff, I guess that generates you passive income because that's something that I'm really passionate about helping people with. Like with the coaching is kind of like how to set up businesses based on your passions, your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, and putting that into digital products that you can just sell. I mean, it must be such a nice feeling for you, when you're just doing like going about your mundane tasks and it's
You
like
get a little ding.
ping, yeah. And it's
It's
just
like
like,
you have made £5. I'm a millionaire. But
yeah,
I'm not, that's it. I'm not doing it for the big
yeah,
money. It's nice just
yeah,
to have a trickle income. So for me,
yeah.
I also do Patreon, Facebook subscriptions,
Mhm.
Instagram subscriptions, which means I also get passive income through just having a follower
Amazing.
base essentially
Wow.
that you're sharing with. And then I also have affiliate links and then affiliate kickbacks. So for anyone that doesn't know, that's basically where if you used a code for somebody and then a
Mhm.
URL link for that or a website link, that will come back to that person if they've got it set up as an affiliate scheme.
Yeah,
So I get a little 5% from what you bought essentially because you bought it through me through that company.
yeah,
So I've got quite a lot of affiliate links, which are all housed on my link tree or in my bio, which I try to make it appeasable for everybody to find where those are. And an Amazon store, like, have it up on your blog if you've got anything to sell like that, always put it through an Amazon. So you get a kickback through that as an affiliate as well. But that's
amazing.
how I do it. There's lots of ways to do it, but those are some of the revenue streams that I use.
I think having as many revenue streams is good though. It's rather than just like relying on one. Again, I kind of help people like create these multiple income streams. So, if one dries up slightly, the others
Mm.
are kind of working. So, which out of all of the kind of online income streams would you say has worked best for you and why?
I would definitely say that marketing, and knowing how to market myself and build the van life with Lucy brand, because that's my bread and butter at the minute of what brings
Yeah,
in the money.
yeah,
Because some contracts now are like up to £2,000, some are like as little as 200 to 500. It depends on the
yeah.
brand that you're working with and what you're doing as a deliverable.
Um,
Um, so yeah, but I've got friends that do YouTube and that make that off a video, like a singular video, and that's just a constant passive stream for them, if especially if they get up to like 1 million views and it starts to go viral.
wow.
So for me personally, Instagram and making adverts and doing all my work through Instagram and brand collabs not only offers me opportunity to like meet cool brands and test out new products or go places and travel more. It's also that income that I need at the moment to keep me sustained on the road. Otherwise, yes, I would probably go into something like I did before with more of a 9 to 5 corporate but remote job.
Yeah,
So I used to just whack the Starlink on the reef and then turn my laptop on at 5 to 9. Boom, and
yeah,
that's me done. But I also wanted to do that for the experience of knowing how to be a marketeer because I
yeah.
came from a primary education background and could teach you how to do phonics. Can't tell you
Mhm.
how to sell a business. So it was all sort of a learning curve.
Yeah, which
Um,
is amazing.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, it's just what you do to just sort of make the lifestyle work for
Yeah.
you. So over the next few years, I'm really trying to save up as much as I can because I would like to do more of a nomadic base. So have
Mhm.
a secondary property or have a property that I can use as a base in and out of. And that would be an off-grid. So
Yeah,
whether it's that I build a little cabin or I've got a little prefabricated building or a shipping container. I
yeah.
was looking at train carriages the other day,
No.
and potentially then having to do a welding course. Because when I did this, I did an electronics based course online,
Oh, wow.
just to learn how to cut and crimp my own cables and
Yeah,
and just base of like what's the difference between voltage and wires and all this overwhelming stuff. So I think yeah, I would then have to re-educate myself and school of YouTube, go back to basics of how to build an off-grid home, which
yeah,
is like getting inspiration from like you guys and others out there in the community that are making that dream completely real.
yeah. And where in the world are you looking to like have your home base? Have you thought of like, is it UK, Spain? Like,
Yeah, it's probably going to be south of Spain. So my dad lives near Hullavera, near Lepe, so on the near the Portuguese border. So he's
yeah.
got a property out there on the back of an orchard, and it's very like traditional Spanish barn type building.
Lovely.
Yeah, and then he's bricked it up and sort of built it up into a 2-bed home now. It's actually for sale, because he's getting into his 70s now, so he can't sustain it. It's too much with like the house back in the UK, because that's what they do. They used to drive all over with their camper van, but now they're a bit older. It's a bit too much driving, so they just fly out to their home in
Yeah.
Spain, because his wife's 10 years older, but she's just had a poorly diagnosis, so they're going to sell now.
Oh,
If I had the money, I would buy it right up, but I
yeah.
get that they need to now get rid. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, but I've seen it happen. I've seen my dad do it. I saw my mum do it in Ireland, building a house from scratch. So it's like, I know it's possible. And I meet people all the time that just do it in their own different ways, and it's
Yeah.
really inspirational. So I'd love like a little stream if I could, or something on the land that I can then, yeah, completely cultivate it. I'd love a big garden so I could grow my own veg.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd love it. So that's the dream.
Amazing. Well, hopefully, like, we'll always keep our ears out if there's anything in that area that, because is that the area you're looking for then? Is it
Yeah,
Holland?
because I love Portugal. I spent all winter last year in Portugal.
Yeah.
And the plan is to go over to Spain sort of December to the end of January this year. And a part of that is like having feelers around that east coastline of how's that feel?
Yeah.
And where would I like to be? I do like the mountains rather than the coast. So I
Yeah.
think I'd rather be up in the hills.
Uh-huh.
Bit like yourselves, because it's just different as a temperate climate as well, isn't it? Especially in the summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking I'll go and have a little recce. I'll have a little
Yeah,
recce, I think.
exactly. Just go with the flow and you'll just find, sorry, my husband's doing some building work in the background if you can hear it.
Well, that's the thing when you've got DIY projects, right? And you've built it yourself. There's
I know.
always
It's
stuff to be done.
always like
You're never finished.
oh, never. Like we actually moved from the mountain home. So we moved a year ago. I don't know if you know this, but we moved half an hour away down the road to so we're by like the coast now, but still like
Oh,
got
cool.
mountains around us. So yeah, actually like we've taken on an even bigger project in a sense, but we just love like the location. Like I won't go into all the details, but we had like a big fire at the mountain home like 5 years ago. And from
Mm.
that day, it kind of, I really suffered with a lot of like PTSD from it. And I found it really difficult towards the end, like being up there on my own. So like, it's a long story and I won't go into it now, but that's kind of like one of the main decisions that made us leave because I was just really suffering like mentally up there, although I'm much, and it's such a contrast because I love it and I think about it up there every day. But there was just this thing where like I would panic because I've got two small daughters. If like Jack would go off to work and I'd be on there on my own, I think if there's a fire, like what would I do if I get trapped?
Mm.
Yeah, so we actually like we bought like this property down on the coast and there's like three outbuildings, like we're turning it completely off grid. But it's lovely, it's just a massive project. But again, like we've just learned all of our skills on the go. So
Mm.
Jack has just like rewired one of the guest houses. He's done all the plumbing. Bearing in mind when I first met Jack, he couldn't put up a curtain pole like in our rental.
Look at that for growth, goodness.
It's just amazing. Like, this whole thing about being more self-sufficient or self-reliant, it's just learning these skills yourself. So like even now he's learning how to do basic mechanics of our cars.
Mm.
So we're not relying totally on like a mechanic or, it's really part of this self-sufficient kind of dream.
Yeah, well, you should both be so proud because any kind of skill acquisition like that is mostly, well, for me, it's failure. It's not just like succeed. You don't succeed at these tasks. You fail and fail and fail, and then you finally learn how to do it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of perseverance. But thank you for sharing about the fire and that as an incentive to move because yeah, that's a really difficult position to be in because it's a real threat.
Yeah.
Um, a real threat. And I guess it comes part and parcel with the living abroad and different circumstances. And I mean, it's only like living in the UK, I suppose, with like flooding and,
Yeah.
having that happen again. But we make these sacrifices for the places and the lifestyles that it gives us because it's the
That's it.
freedom and everything else that comes with it.
Yeah, and it's
Not on an estate at the back of Black Hill or up at
no,
Cannock Chase.
like I
Bit
mean,
different.
no, it's so true. And it's like even though it's different this home, the ethos like is still the same. It's this freedom off grid, like this lifestyle that we want to live, like the homestead. We've got our chickens, it's just
Mm.
I just feel a bit safer here because I've got like a couple neighbours. I never thought I'd want neighbours after being up in the mountain, like because part of me was like, I've got no neighbours. I'm 5 kilometers away from anyone. Like, and part
Mm.
I do miss. But then on the flip side, it's like, well, if something goes wrong, you are on your own. And like,
Yeah, yeah.
fires is a very serious thing in Spain, and it happens all the time, unfortunately. So yeah, it's one of those things you have to weigh up, I guess, if you do kind of want to live remotely and rural in Spain. But yeah,
Mm.
there's so many beautiful areas around here, and like you can like I love it here because I've got the mountains still, so I've still got like the mountains behind us, and we can always go and feel that connection to the mountains. But then I've got the sea 2 minutes away, so it's like the best of both worlds, really. But
Yeah, I think it's super inspiring because you've done all that whilst you're raising a family, which I think is a job in itself. So you're undertaking several roles there and you're both switching hats constantly and persevering with that as a journey. So to take joy out of that is something to be really, really proud of because, you're not just focusing on the stress of this and that and everything else. It's trying to have enjoy your life at the same time.
and it's trying to create a life for the girls, my two girls.
Hmm.
Like I just not that I had like a bad like upbringing in the UK. I loved my upbringing in the UK. It was lovely, but I just wanted them to have more of that connection to nature, like, just not yeah. And for me and Jack, I think when we were in the UK, our mental health struggled because we were so stressed. Like we just had a new baby, like we got bailiffs at the door, like there's just these constant trying to keep up with the bills and pay this and pay this. And I'm living in constant stress, and that's surely going to trickle down into like my children, like just living in that constant. So hopefully, like it's a more calm and more, fulfilled upbringing for them. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Especially from an education point of view, because that was my forte. I'm always saying about, because I meet a lot of people that homeschool their kids as well, and they're like, oh, you're a teacher. You used to do this. And I'm like, well, yeah, I think if I ever did have children, especially if on the road, if it's still a possibility for me, because I'm 36 now, and there's just no boyfriend in sight when it comes. It's hard to meet people when you're out on the road.
yeah,
If anyone knows any 30s, but that's what I mean, because everybody's either had kids or not decided to have children at my age. It's either one or the other.
yeah.
Whereas I've always been like, it would be nice. It would be nice, but I've sort of prioritized and had to sacrifice some of that because of doing the nomadic travel. I talked about it on an Instagram post recently of we talk a lot about the romanticism of van life and the benefits of van life that it can give you like financial freedom and all this. But part of the sacrifice I think for that is if you're on your own, it's hard to meet people. It's hard to meet people. You really have to force yourself. And when it comes to dating, because you're constantly moving, that makes it very tricky. So they have to be open to either a long distance relationship, at least at first,
Yeah.
to see how that goes. And it is beneficial if they're in that lifestyle too, and they kind of get that, which is an even smaller niche of the national population. So yeah, that's definitely something that I'm quite open to talking about because I know I'm not the only one out there that's probably thinking the same thing, but it makes it tricky.
There needs to be like some kind of dating app, doesn't there, for like van lifers? Maybe that's like a business thing
A
we can
future business idea, maybe.
idea.
I'm not very good on the app, so if you're an app developer, come at me.
Well,
But yeah, but it would be nice. I know that you can get travel apps these days where you can do travel-y sort of stuff where it's like, yeah, meeting up and dating through that as a travel app. So that's more for nomads,
yeah.
but it's not necessarily for van life nomads because it's a different type of travel to say backpacking and cities where you just have that higher influx of socialization. A lot of off-gridders are away from that, aren't we? We're out in the sticks and in the middle of nowhere and on remote, beautiful, nature-filled places.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
definitely gonna start thinking about that as a business idea. But yeah,
I'll credit you, babes. I'll credit
I
you.
know, yeah. So is there any other kind of like negatives that that you see from being as a van lifer? Like what do you kind of think are the setbacks that maybe like you said it's a romanticized vision and dream, but what are the realities and kind of like the negatives that we might not see?
I would definitely, we've talked about loneliness and we've talked about kind of meeting and socialize, but I think the others factors that can affect is the financial strain.
Yeah.
Yes, you might have more financial freedom month to month,
Mhm.
so like less on a mortgage than it might be for say your van insurance and general stuff. But when there's a problem with your vehicle, which is also your home, if you don't have access to your vehicle, you're then having to pay for temporary home and then vehicle repairs on top.
Yeah.
So when the hits come, they can be more expensive. So last year I had my flywheel done, clutch done, and everything else. And it was over like 2 grand for all this work because basically the engine had to come out and go back in.
Yeah.
Last month I had an alternator that was starting to get a little bit on the squeaky side, so I took it in, and that was £450 straight up. So keeping maintenance on an older vehicle, especially mine's only 2012, but it's at an age now after 170,000 miles where it just needs bits replacing. So that's part and parcel. So if you're not, well, I suppose I was careful with buying the van, but they just get to a certain age and mileage because you're living in it constantly and putting loads of miles on.
Yeah.
So that's definitely hidden costs,
Feeling
as
cost.
well as if you're talking anything camper van or motorhome, hidden costs. So
Yeah.
a maxi fan's going to cost you 4 times more than a normal window, and sometimes these micro elements are actually more expensive than a domestic appliance or domestic fitting. I know my friends have just bought some rubber sealing, and it's cost them like 400 quid for a rubber seal. It's
Wow.
so just because it's caravan and motorhome. So hidden costs can be a real negative. And if
Yeah.
you don't have that float kitty of money, because maybe you are trying to be entrepreneurial, start a business, give yourself financial independence, um, it can be a lot. It can be a lot. So yeah, but maybe the other thing I would also just mention is like we've talked a little bit about travel. Well, we talked about decision fatigue when traveling,
Yeah.
but I think actual travel fatigue, because when you're in the van or when you're living a nomad life, you can do a lot of traveling. So sometimes things start to blend and places start to just get a bit furry of, oh, we've done so much traveling, and you just can get tired and burn out from that as well.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find a balance of, yes, you may be in the lifestyle full time, but if you aren't going super slow or maybe spending a week in one place or a few days in another, if you're just going boom, 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 hitting those destination spots, you can run yourself down and get mentally and emotionally fatigued with that as well, especially if you're with a partner, because it's a lot of pressure living with someone else in such a tight space on a schedule. So it can be a bit of a furnace. I've definitely done that before. I have lived with the partner temporarily in a van and done big van trips, and there's no hiding away from one another, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So yeah.
Like me and Jack sometimes, like I remember we first moved off grid and it was like just like the pressure of like not having any support in terms of like family around to like look after, our daughter Poppy, like when things go wrong and it's just like we were just like butting heads. But yeah, so it's not just the van. I totally appreciate what you're saying, but yeah,
Yeah, and it's because you don't get a chance to diversify your company and your interests and stuff because you're sort of on a task, aren't you? You're like building a house or you're on a road trip or you're spending the winter here or the summer here or whatever. There's a focus point. So you're potentially in that as a journey, and then you're not spreading yourself out as normally as you would, and sort of diluting yourself with kind of those stress relievers, like doing yoga practice or your physical sports if you're into that, or reading more, or so it's just trying to find that balance of your interests and the travel, and then trying to sustain it all with a working life. Because I think people just say, "Oh, coffee on a beach, isn't van life great?" And
yeah,
it's like, okay, there's layers, guys. There's
yeah,
layers.
versus reality. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's like
Um,
my friend, she's just recently moved over here, like about a year and a half ago, with her two kids. Oh no, sorry, three kids. They've got like a baby, then like a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. And she wants to do like the whole off-grid homestead thing. So they bought this house which needed a complete renovation. And the other day she's like, I just had visions of us skipping through the vegetable garden, like holding hands with my children, but the reality is not that. Like these homesteaders lie, like it's like, she's trying to renovate a house and then trying to like fit like a water system that just keeps breaking. And then there's so honestly, and I really feel for it because you do get this kind of like Instagram versus reality where people
yeah.
really show like the best parts of, say, van life or off-grid living or homesteading. But sometimes the reality can be a little bit different to that.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the sense of romanticism about like your food shop or what you're doing or your coffee in the morning, because it's good to have that like sense of fun about your life. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. But I think if you only portray that and it's not a balanced outcome of what you're putting out there, especially on social media, I feel like there's a responsibility to sort of take, because it's like, well, you've got to tell people the full story, especially if they want to come on board with it and be a part of your community. You don't want to get the bad rep as the fibber over there. So I like to keep it as honest and as authentic as possible. And because I share so much of my life, I'm just about to start a YouTube channel and try and get that going as a bit of momentum and another way to make opportunities, friendships. Because there's a lot of people that aren't, because my platform is predominantly Facebook and Instagram, but a lot of people don't do that are on YouTube. So they don't have social media, but they watch YouTube because YouTube's like TV these days. So I'm like, well, actually, I'm isolating myself from an entire populace of people there. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a go. And longer form might be nice for me as a when I'm old, look back at some of the places and things I've been doing.
Oh, that's
Um,
lovely. Well, we'll definitely link all of like your, social
oh
media.
yeah, of course, yeah, thank you. Yeah, feel free. I'm just starting on my first one now, but I've been watching quite a lot of other YouTubers recently to try and get a bit of inspo, like yourself, of like how these videos. It's a whole skill in itself, isn't it? How
Yeah,
to edit, how to like make it look cool. I've bought myself a drone, so I've been doing lots of like sweepy droney things, learning how to use that.
amazing. Yeah, me and Jack, when we first moved to the mountain, we were like, we're gonna have a YouTube channel. We made one video and it nearly killed us. So it's just like film everything. And then like my daughter, because we don't like to show our children on like online and stuff, it's like, stay over there, stay over there. And then she like runs in the footage. And then honestly, we were just like, yeah, we haven't got the time at the moment to do this, but it's definitely something
Mm.
I'd love to do as well. Again, like you said, just to look back. And I think
Yeah.
kind of that liberation video, especially because we moved, I can look back at that time in our life and just think, wow, like what an amazing time that was, and show the kids when they get older, look, you lived here, or look at
Yeah, definitely. It's like a time capsule. So that's
it.
what I'm thinking, because I definitely have done a lot of traveling over, especially the last 13 months, whilst I've been doing paid collabs and stuff all over the world. And I'm like, I don't want those trips to start bleeding into each other too much. And then I'm just like, oh, I don't really remember that time because I just did so much in such a short time. So that's why I'm like, no, I think I'm going to do more long form because it's going to be nice for me to remember, because this isn't going to be like this forever. So I've got to try and savor it whilst I can, or I'd like to. So yeah, but thank you very much for that, and I'll let you know when I'm finally finished with it. I've got to do the rust work on the van first. Got to respray the van, treat all the rust, learn how to do that. I have no idea. I've been watching YouTube videos this morning.
Love it. What's your band's name again? Is it Alanis? No, Alanis.
Yes, after Alanis Morissette. I am a guitarist. That's what's above me here. So I've been in bands and stuff since I was 14, 15, and always loved Alanis Morissette. And
Oh,
it's just that I think it's like when she's driving in the car in America, and I just remember being a little girl being like, I want to have that freedom. I just want to like road trip everywhere, and I don't know, it was just that epitome of cool. And
yeah.
yeah, so when I finally got my rig, I was like, there is only one name for this van. It's got to be Alanis.
It's
So
such
that's what I
a good
went
name.
with.
I love it. It's really nice. So
Mm.
just if you don't mind, like, would you mind letting people know like roughly what your monthly kind of overheads are living in the van? I know we have like the hidden costs, but kind of like just day to day, like month to month, what would you say like your cost of living is from the van?
I invested heavily into my electronics, which means that my utility bills are lower because I don't use gas. So I've got an induction hob, which obviously runs off my kind of like electrical system. So I have solar, I have a split charge inverter, so the alternator charges the batteries when the van is running. So because my electrical system is so good, it means that that saves me money in the long run. So it was more expensive to start, but it saves me money now, and I don't have to have a hookup. I don't have a hookup.
Oh,
So if I went to a campsite, I wouldn't be able to plug in somewhere. All mine is completely off grid. Um, so yeah, I've got no gas. I use an induction hob for cooking. I also have an air fryer, which is 3 pin, so I can put that in and with the inverter on, and then I'll cook that. So it's kind of like a little oven. Um, so altogether, zero bills, £0 for bills on that one per month. But my fuel is probably my biggest allowance, depending on mileage and how far I'm going. So with fuel, my vehicle insurance is through Ripe Insurance, and they're really good because it's for motorhomes and camper vans as a specialism, and they allow you business and living in sort of insurance as well. So you can actually like reside in it up to 9 months a year. Because I work abroad so much, actually, I'm only in the van probably 7.5 to 8 months of the year. So that works quite well because I'm away working.
Perfect.
So I've managed to nail that for the policy. But Sterling and a couple of other insurers do other stuff where they can kind of work around that. And some of them allow you 12 months to live in it. So I would probably say bills all in with insurances and food and things like that. Water I tend to pick up for free if I can. So I go to like Morrison's and all the supermarket petrol stations because they usually have water outlets where you can fill it up. Um, I probably spend about 400 to £500 a month. If it's a heavy fuel month, it'd be 700, but the rest is about 400, £500. And that's including my Starlink phone bill. So I've got internet. I have an European package for my Starlink, so I can use it anywhere in Europe. So yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
If I compare that to my house living in my
Yeah.
rental, I was like 750 just for the rent, council tax, bills, utilities, water. It's probably about £900 a month, and that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So I imagine it's much higher than that now.
Yeah, probably double now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, that's amazing. So inspiring. Wow.
So
So many people can listen to this and be like, right, you're definitely inspiring more people to want to live this lifestyle.
people see my van though, and because it's a short wheelbase, they're like, "Where's the rest?" Like, you live in this. Because really, I was in Alcatraz in San Francisco this year, because I was working out in San Francisco, and I was stood in the cell, and I was like, this is Alanis is smaller than a standard cell in Alcatraz as a box space. But I
Uh-huh.
think it's because really I've got two seats and a bed and then a
Yeah,
kitchen, a shower and toilet because I use an eco toilet, so I've got a compostable which is in this little cupboard next to me. But I don't need anything else.
yeah,
Really, I live outside the van. On cold and rainy days, I'm inside and I'm working, sure. But that's it. I don't need loads of other room. And it's perfect for getting around country roads and it's only little.
yeah. Because I was just about to say, I bet living in the van has given you more of this connection to nature as well, because nature
100%.
is your home now as well. So you can just park up and that becomes your garden, like anywhere you are. So do you
Mm,
feel like since living in the van, you've definitely got this more connection to nature and the seasons and all this kind of lovely stuff?
yeah, definitely more in tune with nature. And that was a huge thing for me because I was an outdoors instructor and teacher as part of my teaching. And I went to go live in Norway as part of Erasmus when I was doing my masters. And the way that they live up there, completely in tune with the seasons because they don't have like winter is just dark for like 5 months of the year. So yeah, they're really in tune with it. And, they just have a whole different lifestyle, and it's so centered around activity and like spending time with each other, like quality time with each other, and eating your meals together. And it's not just all screens. And I love that as a culture. And I think, yeah, it's definitely taught me to spend more time outside the van, prioritize my nature time and my activity time. I'm definitely probably fitter than I've been in a long time because of the van life and going out and exploring and yeah, and I'm a lot more intrepid. So I was a bit scared going female hiking when I was doing the Wainwrights in my 20s.
Mm.
And then when I got the van, I was like, well, actually, I'm alone all the time now. So it's no bother going for a walk outside and up a mountain. I'm not going to meet anybody up there, just like I'm not going to meet anybody down here.
Yeah,
So yeah, it made me a bit braver, I guess, to undertake new situations and go to different places that were remote. And
yeah,
then I was like, yeah. And then that gave me the thirst then. So I was like, right, go to Arizona in the middle of the desert and sleep out there and see how we get on. Oh yeah, it's brilliant. All the
yeah.
stars, scorpions, it's cool.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that. So is there kind of any places that you would like say to people, like put them on your bucket list out of all the places you visited now in the world, like where would you say, if you got like a top three that you like, you've got to go here.
It depends what your niche is really, what you really love. So I love nature. I love geology. I love understanding how the earth was created. I like looking at a rock and knowing that's really a history lesson in action there. So I loved Iceland because Iceland is such a geothermal active area. It's kind of like a new planet in itself. So I really enjoyed going to Iceland and touring around there. It's great to do in a camper van. In fact, it's kind of the only way to do it if you want to see the wider island and
Yeah.
up in the Highlands areas, and off-gridding because you can literally just go on the F roads across the country, which is like dirt track roads. So crossing rivers and lagoons of salt and black sands, and so really diverse and landscape. Like you can go from the beach to mountains to tundra to glaciers. So yeah, I really liked Iceland. America is a huge country. The USA was stunning and so diverse with nature.
Mhm.
So I spent 3 months pretty much exploring the nature this year with going to the different national parks, spending time in the desert, just because I've never been to like a full-on desert before. So I was in Death Valley in August.
Oh,
So it was like 50 degrees. It was pretty intense, but I wanted to do it as an experience, so that was fun. Um, and then I don't know, I would say New Zealand was pretty impressive as well. The South Island of New Zealand and the Southern Alps is a really resplendently rich area. So you've got penguins that live in the rainforest down there. Like it's all a bit great. Milford Sound is very like the Norwegian Fjordlands. So if you haven't got the budget to go to New Zealand, head over to the Fjordlands in Norway because that's stunning if you can drive over there and spend some time. They do a crossing, or they're trying to put a crossing in from Scotland straight up now. So if that comes, that'll be brilliant because I drove through the Book of Holland and through Denmark on the bridges. Um, so yeah, but those would be my three sort of top ones. I mean,
okay.
I've done all that travel in camper vans. I've just got there, hired a camper van, and done it.
Love that. Oh, awesome. Well, I feel like I've taken up enough of your time today, and I'm so, so grateful for you like joining me on this podcast. Like it's a very new podcast, and I just, there's people that I've seen and I just feel super inspired, and yourself was one of them. So yeah, I just
Oh,
want to say
thank
like
you.
thank you so much for joining me today. And yeah, I mean like I guess shall we just end it on like if there's someone who is thinking about doing this and they've got this drive like this, they're stuck in the rat race, they're not enjoying their job, they're sick of paying
Hmm.
like all these monthly overheads, like what would you say to them?
It's okay to be uncomfortable and make that jump. Like, if you're uncomfortable in your day-to-day life anyway, because you're not enjoying it anymore, or that change has happened and it's forcing you to think about other things, like, go and do something different. Just go for it. And it will be uncomfortable. Building a van can be very, very tricky. We've talked about it, haven't we? Like, mentally, you provision for like this much time, this much money, and it's never that. It's always twice the amount of time and twice the amount of money. But still, it's okay to be uncomfortable and it's okay to challenge yourself. It's okay to fail. And the skills and confidence that you will build in that process is immeasurable. Like at the end of the day, if all we get is a journey and this is our life and this is the journey, then try and make it as rich as possible. So be really proud of yourself for like pushing yourself out there to do it. Like I'm a complete noob at most stuff, but I'll give it a go. So if I can do it, you can do it too. Like just have that sense of like I'm probably going to fail, but that's okay. To fail is okay. So I think that's it. Try not to hold yourself to that same level of professionalism or perfectionism or whatever that you've probably attained in that lifestyle that you're currently in because you've made it comfortable for yourself. So it's great, well done. But now it's time to make yourself uncomfortable and try something else.
Love it. Oh, that's amazing. Well, yeah, we'll end it there. So thank you so, so much again. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm going to put all of the links to like your ebooks, your blog, websites, YouTube
Oh, thank you.
channel when that comes up. 'Cause I'm really excited for your YouTube channel. So yeah, we'll link everything in the show notes. But again, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and the rest of your day. And I will be in touch in the
Thank you. I'm hope I'm just looking at the rain, being like, oh no, I'll come to Spain.
Yeah, well, I won't show you out my window because it's quite a nice day today. I don't want to make you feel sad,
Oh
but
no, no. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure to chat, and thank you for having me on the show. And but yeah, feel free, and I'd love to talk again some other time. That would be great. It's been fantastic to spend the time with you today.
You have to come out and stay, like come over here. Like we've got a lovely
Oh,
spot you can park up at Lannis and or you can stay in our guest house. It'd be nice to meet you in person.
oh, thanks, Georgia. That would be great.
All right, my love, well have a lovely day and we'll speak soon.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.